Hello, my name is Leah and welcome to the first week of NaNoWriMo. Today's technically day 2 because I did a separate vlog for day 1. The number will be here on the screen somewhere, so that's my starting point for the rest of this week. I did start my draft with about 7,000 something words in it total already, so my overall word count goal for this week is to reach 19,000 words in the draft as a whole, which I think comes out to be about 12,000 words for this week for NaNoWriMo. I'm feeling good about the head start that I got yesterday, which is great. However, I'm not going to reap any of the benefits of that today. Today, I still want to meet what I kind of like mathed out as my minimum word count goal for every day this week, which is 2,750 words. Ideally, actually, I'd like to get to 3,000 words today, which means that today is going to be another bit of a push day because 3,000 words a day is not my typical sustainable pace, especially when it comes to drafting. I'm a little bit slower in the actual drafting phase, even though, you know, I'm trying to fast draft. I'm trying to get my brain out of the mindset of I'm writing a book, this has to be good, this has to be perfect, this has to make sense. We're trying to ignore all of those thoughts and feelings and just get words on the page and just get the story out. I found starting yesterday that was probably the hardest part, especially now that we're in NaNoWriMo. Like I said, I already have those 7,000 words in there from earlier this year. It was a few months ago, but those words I don't think were as difficult because I didn't have the external pressure of NaNoWriMo. And I also knew going into that I probably wasn't going to finish the book in the near future. I knew I was just starting the book and that I was going to have to set it aside once, you know, we closed on the house and we had to move and all of that. But now there is the external pressure of NaNoWriMo, which, you know, is the whole point of having NaNoWriMo. And so now, whenever I sit there and I pause and I catch myself like thinking through something or like being like, how do I word this sentence? Or what would this person say exactly? And like, how would I convey this aspect of their character through this dialogue? And like, when I find myself getting into the weeds a bit like that, I have to take a step back and I'm like, Leah, it's NaNoWriMo. You just want to get the words out. Remember, you're allowed to just be like, they say something about this and then move on, because the point here is just to get a draft on paper or in a document, I guess. I've also just been in revision brain for so long. The last time I was in like a pure drafting brain was, I think, February, when I started working on my middle grade project game, but I only got about 10,000 words into that. And then the last time I was in pure drafting brain before that was November 2020, doing Project Shadows for NaNoWriMo. So it's been a sec. You spend so much time in revision that I feel like every time I get back into drafting, I'm like, I've forgotten how to draft. I don't know how to do this anymore. But the fact that I've spent so long in revisions is also another thing that I'm trying to keep in mind when it comes to not making this perfect. Having that experience of revising so much tells me, no, there's gonna be time to fix it. Like, this literally is just for that baseline, having something to jump off of. And I remember finishing Project Shadows, like the zero draft of Project Shadows, and being like, this is crap. I hate this so much. And that's probably how I'll feel at the end of this draft too, because zero drafts just suck. Hello, me again, and what is becoming my usual vlogging spot, apparently. I'm not quite done for today, but it's around noon, so I thought I would jump in with a little update. I've written 1,150 words so far, and like I said, even though I'm slightly ahead of where I need to be for NaNoWriMo right now, I'm still trying to reach like that minimum word count goal I had given myself earlier, just to like fully stay ahead. But that's where I'm at right now. But the other reason I wanted to jump in with an update is I just finished Act 1. So I thought it would be fun to try and calculate what the total word count of this draft might be. Because I feel like once I reach the end of Act 1, that's sort of where I have a solid number I can work with, and then from there I can sort of branch out, knowing how the story moves and which acts are going to be longer than others in order to get like a full word count estimate. So I feel like Act 1 is typically about like 20 to 25% of the book. However, I know for mine, it's gonna be much more Act 2 heavy, so I'm gonna go with like that 20% number. So the typical formula for like figuring out percentage stuff and what the part of the whole is part over whole is equal to percent over 100. So the way that would work then is whole times 20 equals 15,988 times 100, which is 1,598,800. So then I would divide that by 20, and that puts my total estimated word count at about 80,000 words for this draft. Now, why is this getting so blown out right now? Okay, that's a lot better. I also know that I like totally underwrite my drafts, and because I know this beginning part of the book a lot better than the end, just because I've attempted to write it so many times, I think that that is a much bulkier word count than will be the case for the rest of the book. I also know that I, more than just underwriting the draft, severely underwrite my Act 3s for like initial 0 drafts. I think that the total draft is gonna be closer to 70,000 than it will be 80, which puts me probably finishing NaNoWriMo if my goal is to get to 57,000. I think it'll put me at the end of Act 2. I don't think I'll break into Act 3 if that's the case. Just a fun little word thing. I like sort of pacing my novel by paying really close attention to word count and where I am sort of in relation to where certain story structure beats are quote unquote supposed to be happening. Obviously, I don't follow that to a T, especially once I'm revising, but in the drafting phase, that just sort of helps me keep a bigger perspective on everything and see where I'm at pace. It sort of gives me an initial picture of where I know that I need more, I need to buff it up, something's missing in the plot here, or where maybe I have too much going on, and maybe see where I can shift things to other places. So that just sort of helps me keep a handle on where the heck I'm at. A slower morning this Friday. I'm sort of hitting the first point this nano where I'm not super enthusiastic about sitting down to write. I just have done a lot of writing this week so far, more probably than any other week in my life, in terms of just straight up drafting. This pace I'm working at is pushing me and stretching me, which is a good thing because I feel like I'm growing as a writer. I feel like I'm challenging myself, which is great, but it is a lot. At the very, very least, I want to get to my 19,000 word like total goal today. That way I know for a fact I'm done for the week. I can free up my Saturday. I wasn't planning on doing a ton on Saturday, but I did have 500 words like scheduled for Saturday, but technically I think in order to reach the 19,000, I don't have to write my 2,750 words. The problem with sort of being in charge of your own work, you know, setting your own goals, being self-motivated in that way, is it's very easy to get to a place of, well, I don't feel like doing this, so I won't. And it's very easy also the opposite, to read your body and your mind's like natural signs of you need to slow down, you're overworking yourself, as no, I can't listen to that, I'm just being lazy. So there's like these two opposite ends of like actual laziness and then potential burnout that you sort of have to balance. I don't feel anywhere near burnout in this instance, at least. my main problem is just not wanting to do the same amount of work today as I've done every single other day this week. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer with what I do with that, you know? Like, it's not wrong, I think, in this scenario for me to be like, okay, suck it up, write the 2,750 words. But I also don't think it's necessarily wrong to give myself a break and be like, okay, you've done enough this week, 2,000 words today, 1,500 words today. Just get the 19,000 word total and you can be fine. Even though I want to do that, I think I need to keep the big picture in mind. We're working towards 50,000 words. The last like week and a half of Nano is going to be a struggle. It's not gonna be good. This happens every year and I know it, and I give myself breaks or like little, oh, I'll do this 500 words later, it's not that much, in the first 2 weeks, and it always comes back to bite me in the butt in the end. If I just settle for my 19,000 words total today and just not go past that, it means that I'm giving up that lead that I created for myself on day one. It means on week 2, I'm back to square one where I have to hit my word count goals every single day. And so I think in order to invest in future Leah's mental health, I just need to suck it up, get my words in for the day, keep that lead, keep that buffer, and then be able to use that at times where I need it. Because I don't feel like I need it right now. The other thing that is a struggle today, more specifically, I talked in my Preptober vlog about getting into knitting and using that sort of as a reward system for me with my Preptober work, which I absolutely am gonna be employing for this because I have been staying on track this week. I actually went out and got some more yarn and a new pair of needles because I needed it for what the thing is that I wanted to make. But I got some of that yesterday and I started on a blanket last night. Mom, if you're watching this, no, it is not your blanket. It's a practice blanket so that I don't screw yours up. But that's gonna be my reward today if I finish all of my words. I have a few things around the house that I want to get done as well. But then after I finish all my work, no matter what time it is, even if it's not like the end of the workday, I'm just gonna knit. And that's gonna be the rest of my day. And that's also probably going to be my weekend. Gotta be honest, guys, wasn't feeling the writing today. Ugh, which is so frustrating because we're still so early, but week 2, I know this is still in the week 1 vlog, but today's Monday, basically, of week 2. Week 2 always begins the decline, I feel like. There's still enough motivation left in the dregs of my soul to continue, but I don't think it's gonna last me for much longer. I powered through today, and thankfully, actually, because this Nano is sort of unique in that I've tried to write this book several times before. This scene that I was working on actually was a scene that I don't really have any problems with in my previous drafts. It's one of the few scenes that actually is just pretty good as is. It still needed a fair bit of rewriting, so I wasn't like I was copying and pasting stuff from the other draft, but this scene was much more like revising than it was writing something from scratch. And so it's about lunchtime right now, and I actually already got my words in for today, and I'm like, thank goodness, because I don't want to be writing anymore. My total on the document as a whole right now is about 23,000 words, which again, remember, I started with 7,407 words. So that puts me at about 16,000 like you saw in the previous clip as my total for NaNoWriMo. On the website, you know how they have like that graph of where par is for each day, essentially. I'm still above that graph. I hate seeing weekends when I'm looking at that graph because I like have this steady up and then a harsh line to the side because I didn't write anything on Saturday or Sunday, which I planned for. That's okay. It's a part of my nano strategy, so I'm fine with it, but it just sucks seeing that lead I created get eaten into a bit. But that's the purpose of the lead. It's the purpose of having extra words and doing extra each day, is to not have to do something every day, or to prep for Thanksgiving break when I know I'm just not gonna get a ton done. I started this week really wanting to lower my word count goals for this week based off of sort of that buffer I had created for myself in week 1, more specifically on day 1. But I'm just really scared of doing that too early because I think I mentioned that before. That's always my downfall, is I create a lead for myself. I almost always do that in week 1, like pretty successfully, but I start dipping into that buffer too early, and then I don't leave myself with any buffer time at the end when I really need it. So I'm gonna try to still get 2,700 words every day this week. I think by Thursday or Friday I might start lowering that, but I don't wanna just rely on we'll see how I'm feeling, because again, feelings wise, I didn't wanna write at all today. And I really gotta keep the big picture of winning nano in mind, because if I wanna make that happen, we can't rely on what Leah is feeling like doing. We have to just do the thing. Let me know how your NaNoWriMo is doing, if you're participating. Are you ahead or behind? I believe in you. I believe in myself. We can do it. We can make it happen. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next week for NaNoWriMo week number 2. Bye.